and
what is the typical conversation? I mean, you and I talk with executives all the time. What's the typical conversation that you have with executives around portfolio management?
they don't care about how many projects.
Well, do they know even?
No.
Okay, that's shocking. that's. I mean, I know a couple, but if you would say the majority are not aware.
No, not aware. And to be honest, I think they don't care about how many projects they have, as long as at the end of the day, business is running and growing.
And they get the strategic the results that they want. Yeah. They don't realize that somehow one is a means to another.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And they want to talk about it and they want to see the result, but the gap in between, which is a bunch of work.
Yeah, and actually, to be honest, it's not on their agenda to know and to see, is it like 4 projects, 6 projects, and 8 projects? I mean, we can split projects into many different things or not, or combine or not.
You know what? I think it's the wording we have to watch out for. I think they would be interested if you put it into their language. I think one of the biggest challenges we have is, can we put it into their language?
Yeah.
Can we connect it on the balanced scorecard to their strategy?
Yeah. What would be a language?
Chinese. No.
Yes. And?
Yeah, I mean, look, the 2 things that executives want to hear is they want to hear balanced scorecard language. They want to hear strategy, vision, mission.
Innovation.
Is it achieved? And are you giving me ESG points? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they want to hear that. They're like generals. They want to see the whole battlefield and they want to see things bird's eye view, which I think is really important.
Yeah, true.
And then the other thing which I think drives them is, can you speak in their MBA language?
Yeah.
You know, the typical, what's my net present value? What's my average rate of return? What's my break even? I think project managers are not sufficiently fluent in financial vocabulary.
True. And that's the reason why I think that very often C executives are not in the role of sponsors of projects. Not really.
Yeah, sometimes I think
it's like
too high. Who do you think should be a sponsor? What level?
C-1.
Yeah.
And therefore, like,
why?
Very much into business, have an understanding of what's going on, have their own targets, have an understanding on how things are linked. There's a conversation on the C-1 or C-2 level. Actually,
I think the word target is a key thing. I think I think it's good to have a C-1 or a B-1 in as a sponsor, because the CEO has the vision, the senior vice presidents have the mission, so they, for their business unit or their function, have to have annual goals
and have to deliver something.
And those projects feed those.
Yeah. So it's maybe more important and more realistic and more adding value to the senior vice presidents to understand what's their portfolio looking like. And then we have the question how to combine portfolios, of course, and how are now projects interfering each other. And shouldn't there be one global common portfolio? Yes, there should. But at the end of the day, who is taking care, and are all those projects in, but not all of them, because from this department, those projects not, because they have their specific roles. So it's hard to really get everything in there, actually, what you want, and not just to focus on some of
let me
departments and vice presidents who really have an understanding about project management.
Let me ask you another question, because I think we've already addressed this beforehand. One of the dilemmas of being high up in management is that there's a huge gap of operational knowledge that you have, which, because you just, as one person, you can't hold that much knowledge. The theoretical and hopefully also practical workaround is a sponsor doesn't know enough to really give full mentorship to a project team. So the workaround would be to have a steering committee or an executive steering committee. What's your experience with executive steering committees? Do they exist? Are they working? That was a short answer.
Yes, on paper they exist.
Yeah.
I know a lot of project managers who avoid showing up at any executive boards and steering committees.
Really?
As long as possible. Because it's like a group of high-paid people. And
assassins.
And then a lot of high-paid people with a lot of visions and ideas come up with a lot of changes on the project.
So in German we say Wünsch dir was.
Yeah.
It's a Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yes.
You go there and they come back with more scope creep than they can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a question of decision making. So who is taking decisions, who is authorizing changes, who is authorizing project deliveries, and so on. I do have quite good experiences on having a group of mentors, a group of people who really understand and know the organization, so kind of an advisory board.
Whatever we call them, I don't care. It's the same with PMO. We don't care what we call them as long as they know what they're doing.
Just a group of people who really have a deep understanding, and it's like a feedback gremium actually. So not decision board, not authorization board. It's someone who just audits the project in terms of, right,
so kind of a coaching and mentorship, which I think is great. I don't think it's sufficient. I think they need to also have the balls, excuse my language, have the balls to make decisions. Because if you have the privilege, maybe it's a different level. But if you have the privilege of making ideas, I think you should have the responsibility of making decisions. Let me ask you a question. You've got a sensational background because you work with a bank in Austria. And that basically supports startups, and you're kind of in that Shark Tank environment. Okay, if you don't know what Shark Tank is, or Lion's Den or Dragon's Den, look it up. Definitely a great concept. It's a classical pitch scenario, and you're an advisor and a member of such a thing. Don't you think that would be a sensational way for organization? Because I think one of the problems with steering committees is steering committee meetings are often too long and they're boring. So in the agile mindset, wouldn't it be good to kind of pimp it up to make it more sexy, to have more like a Lion's Den or Dragon's Den or Shark Tank kind of mentality?
There are organizations that have that in place. So it's like internally run. It's like a invitation to come up with ideas, invitation to come up with innovations. So where you can actually pitch as a group of people to say, right, we have a great idea to bring the organization forward. Like 100 years ago, it was like the Ideenbriefkasten. So letterbox for ideas. So now it's really getting into we pitch it, we think about values, we think about a business case, we think about a business plan. Yes, we do have the chance 2-3 times a year to pitch our ideas and maybe to create projects out of that. And of course there are benefits then later on.
I think you started, but maybe I'm sure you could do this shooting off the hip. If you were to talk to our viewers and say, what would be the loose checklist of what a steering committee or multiple steering committees, what kind of value could they provide to the overall project management ecosystem? So you mentioned decision making and strategy might be a higher level steering committee, but you talked about mentorship, right?
Yes.
What else? Probably a lot of things would fall under mentorship, right? Advice.
Yes, I mean this is quite everything, but the key advantage of really taking a steering committee as a steering committee, which is it's steering, so it's guiding and actually steering projects into the right direction, is to really have the deep understanding of the market, to really have a deep understanding of economics, to really have a deep understanding of strategy, of trends, so really having on a captain's corner of the organizations and give this idea, this know-how to the projects and lead to that. And ideally, of course, they are aligned. Ideally, of course, they are synchronized. And it's not just defending your own department and say, right, I have my target, that's why I go for that.
Would you agree with the statement that most steering committees, if they do exist, are not aware of how essential they are to project success?
Yes, I agree with this statement. So very often it's seen as a must-have to do. Yes, we do have steering board. Either it's boring or it's a must, or
you get the feedback often too much detail. Can you summarize it? Which I think is a skill set that we have to develop. I think PMO should be good at that.
There are no decisions and so on. But on the other hand, like it's not only about blaming the steering committee. It's also like how do project managers react and cope with the steering committee. So very often they are not well prepared. Very often it's just writing slides. Very often they're not.
If you don't own your meeting, you're screwed.
And it's about like thinking like the steering committee. It's about providing solutions. It's about providing scenarios. It's about providing ideas, suggestions, solutions already, and say, right, we do have A, B, C. I would go for B because of that.
I think the beauty of a steering committee, I go back to this original problem that we have, and this is the weakness of whatever methodology you're looking at. Conversations around the details of a project do not end when planning ends. And you need this continual conversation, where we're engaged with one another. So listen, this is what you wanted a month ago. Do you still want this? Is this still priority?
Yeah.
Do you want me to go left or do you want me to go right? If I had to sacrifice one thing, which one would you prefer? I'm facing a certain risk. How would you like me to handle it?
Can we call it agile?
Agile is the bingo bullshit word for everything, but principally yes, but not from a methodology or from a framework, from a way of thinking, which is I guess what a lot of people mean when they say it's more important to be agile than to do agile. I think it's also important to be able to do it, but that's another thing.
Yeah. And that's what I felt like I said in the beginning. It's about hybrid project management, right?
Yeah.
It's to say, right, I do have the flexibility to offer options during the project.
Yeah.
Yes, there could be would you want this or that?
Yeah.
So yes, we do have the flexibility, agility, how you call it, to change whatever has been agreed at the beginning.